Sir, I'm very pleased to be able to speak on this motion, and I thank the member for Heysen for his contribution. I thank other members who have contributed, including the member for Mount Gambier, who's just made some remarks, and I think it bears everyone's consideration, of course, the specific importance of TAFE and the training sector in regional South Australia. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the TAFE SA organisation and the training sector as a whole are critically important to South Australia as a whole, for our social well-being, for our economic future. TAFE and the training sector are the bodies, the companies, the non-government trainers, and TAFE SA is the largest one and most significant one. They're the groups that ensure that the skills needs of our businesses and our industries, our defence industries, our social services into the future are able to be met. We require skilled workforces to be able to leverage the opportunities that defence investment, that business investment make. If they can't get the skilled workforce from amongst South Australians, then we are not meeting our responsibilities. That is a fundamental reason as why TAFE SA is so important. It is also critically important for the social well-being of our state. We have 60,000 people going through the TAFE organisation every year to get themselves an improved skill set. Now that varies from students doing short courses in all range of things, which may be fee-for-service, to a very significant cohort of students undertaking Cert 3s, diplomas, doing work as part of traineeships and apprenticeships towards their own desire to get a future and a career and a job. Many of them are students who are not going to be on a university pathway at school, but can I also identify many of them as students who could be on a university pathway, but have identified the truth that a skilled or technical qualification can be an A-grade choice, should often be the first choice they make rather than a fallback plan. Because I can tell you there are an awful lot of small business people out there, an awful lot of people with skills working in major organisations, government and non-government alike, who have got a skilled qualification that's got them on the track to the best possible job. And often an apprenticeship or a traineeship is the best possible choice for a young person thinking about their future. A strong TAFE SA organisation is utterly critical to our social well-being as a state and our economic future as a state. TAFE, being the most significant one, is utterly critical. And that's why I think the member for Heysen has chosen to move a motion such as this today. Puts it front and centre on the Parliament's agenda. How do we best support our TAFE SA organisation to be all it can be, to help our state be all it can be, and to help so many young people, tens of thousands of young people each year, to be the best they can be and to live their best possible lives, right across South Australia. There's no organisation that probably outside of the Education Department that touches on more lives. And the former government did not treat TAFE SA with the respect it deserves as an organisation. They certainly didn't give it the oversight, the governance, the leadership that it deserved as an organisation. And critically, it didn't provide the people of South Australia, the young students of South Australia thinking about their futures, nor the businesses and industries in South Australia wanting to make the most out of the opportunities they have. The former government failed to give them the oversight, leadership and governance that the TAFE SA organisation deserved. And the Nous report into quality at TAFE and the Moran-Banikoff report into strategic capabilities of TAFE put that front and centre. Wasted years, failures of leadership, incompetence. And can I tell you, the extraordinary gall of the Shadow Minister for Education, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, to come in here and move the amendment that she's moved today in some sort of fig-leaf justification that the Labor Party now all of a sudden cares about TAFE, having spent the last 10 months refusing to appear in this Parliament to ask any questions in question time about TAFE, having spent 10 months with nothing to say about the TAFE SA organisation or its future, or supporting the work, or even an apology for the extraordinary abrogation of responsibility that they undertook while they were in power. They've now developed some talking points, and they come in here after 10 months with this offensive, 11 months even, 11 months it's taken them to write some talking points about the TAFE SA organisation. And their talking points amount to, oh, look at us, we were really good, we commissioned these reviews. These reviews were commissioned at the end of 16 years of shameful failure by those opposite, by the Labor Party, to businesses in South Australia, to industries in South Australia, to the students seeking vocational education in South Australia, and to the TAFE SA organisation. It was those opposite who appointed the board that they then were able to, in December, I think, of the year before last, finally sack the chair of the board and accept the resignation of the CE. It is those opposite whose failures in leadership led to the very problems identified in the Nous Review and the Moran-Bannikov Review. It was those opposite who refused to conduct themselves in a manner befitting what is required of a government that they were, in ensuring that our young people had the quality that was necessary and the organisation capable of delivering it. Let's not forget what triggered all of this. It was in this parliament that I think the Leader of the Opposition, then the Premier now, asked the question of the Education Minister, the member for Port Adelaide, who has moved this amendment, asking about whether there are any problems with quality at TAFE SA. And the Labor Party's response, the Minister, as she was then, I believe, took it on notice, the Labor Party's response was to put out tweets mocking the Liberal Party for raising, at the beginning of a parliamentary sitting week, what they thought was a non-issue. It was a non-issue according to Labor, and of course it was, because they didn't care. They didn't care enough to get involved and to listen to the complaints, the concerns that were raised by non-government organisations over an extended period of time about the TAFE SA organisation. The quality issues identified by ASQA, let's remind ourselves, 16 courses chosen at random, 16 courses audited, 15 recommended in the initial report by ASQA to be not just suspended but removed from TAFE scope entirely, and one suspended. 16 Fs, 15 of them the worst sort. The fact is, after a couple of months of heavy work, 2 of those courses were redeemed by the time the final report came in. And that was great, and that was done as a result of an enormous amount of work at TAFE SA. 4 of those 16 courses didn't need to be redeemed because they'd been removed from TAFE scope altogether, they'd been superseded, and 10 at the end of the final report remained in the failure at risk of suspension, and it wasn't until April last year, 5 months after ASQA's final report, when ASQA finally gave those courses the all-clear. An enormous body of work, and I'm pleased that this House seems on a trajectory to congratulate everybody in the TAFE organisation, from the interim CE right down through all of the lecturers and everyone who did an enormous amount of work in getting those courses back on track. About 50% of every staff member in the TAFE organisation had some involvement in the quality project since this government's been in office, and some of that started before we were in office. But the reason it had to be done was a result of 16 years of failure by a Labor government that didn't give this body, this important institution, the oversight, governance and leadership that our students and that our businesses and industries deserved from a government. This government's been quite different in the quality work that has been partly as a result of the Liberal Party's election commitments, partly as a result of our initial reactions, our initial responses to the Nous and the Moran-Bannikov reviews, as outlined on Budget Day in the Fresh Start for TAFE SA document, which is available on the internet if the Shadow Minister would be interested in looking it up, partly in a result of the specific bodies of work done by staff at TAFE SA has improved the quality framework. We now have a director in TAFE, a senior leadership person focused on quality. We have an academic board reporting to the board. We have a new board comprised of people with skill sets in business, industry, vocational education. This is a new concept to those opposite. This is a new concept to those opposite. I thank them for their appointment of Jo Denley as the Deputy Chair and the Acting Chair. She did an enormous body of work and is personally to be thanked by us all for the work that she did, and she remains on the board. But the board is now functioning as a board should. The quality processes are in place as they should be. The oversight processes are in place as they should be, and the governance processes are in place as they should be. There's still more work to do at TAFE, because we are always on a constant, steady trajectory of improvement to ensure that we can be the best government we can have the best facilities and opportunities for our young people that is possible. There is still work to do. But over the last year, the transformation in TAFE has been extraordinary. The optimism in the staff has been extraordinary. The $107 million reinvested into the TAFE SA organisation by the Marshall Liberal government in last year's budget has made an extraordinary difference to the optimism of everybody involved in TAFE SA. And ASQA, the National Quality Regulator, responded in December last year with a clean bill of health for all those quality issues. We've gone from 16 failures to 16 clean bills of health. TAFE SA is on the right track. TAFE SA has a fresh start. I urge all members to oppose this nonsense amendment and support the member for Heysen's motion.
Minister for Primary Industries.